All right, guys, welcome back in. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and today we are going to be talking about the brand new Rams unofficial depth chart of 2022. Before we get into that, I'm going to ask you to leave a like, thumbs up if you like this and this is helpful, this is informative, really does help out the channel, as well as hit that big fat red subscribe button if you haven't already. But I'm going live, in the entire point of doing this is to just put this out there as soon as possible, not go through the editing process of a video. I just wanted to get my rapid thoughts out there on this topic because, at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and say that the unofficial depth chart means a hell of a whole lot, right? But it does kind of give you a little scope on what's going on. And it's the first thing you're going to see. So that's the thing. So we'll go through it right now. In the quarterbacks, as to be expected, you got Matthew Stafford starting, John Wolford second string, Bryce Perkins third, Luis Perez fourth. Nothing surprising there. Then you look at the running backs. You got Cam Akers first, Darrell Henderson Jr. second, Jake Funk third, and then Kyren Williams, Raymond Calais, Trey Regis, and A.J. Rose as the fourth string. Jake Funk is ahead of Kyren Williams, but remember this, Kyren Williams has not really practiced a whole lot. He got hurt, and so because of that, I'm not surprised to see Jake Funk ahead of him. Do I think Jake Funk should be ahead of him when it's all said and done? Absolutely not. I think that'll change, but that's how they have it right now. This is where it gets interesting. So looking at this, this is the first time I'm looking at this, by the way. Looking at this, wide receivers, we have Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and Ben Skoranek as your three starters. Now, keep this in mind. Van Jefferson is not on the roster as of right now. He's not on the depth chart. He is on, he's on the physically unable to perform list. Like, he is out, right? So he is not included here. That makes sense. That's understandable. You have Allen Robinson, obviously, Cooper Kupp, but Ben Skoranek is going to be a little bit of a surprise for people. I get it. He has the most experience. Again, this is doesn't mean a ton, but it does kind of give you that idea, where they are on that. Underneath Ben Skoranek, Jacob Harrison, Landon Akers. So those are the guys beneath the third stringer, or rather the third receiver. Then you have Cooper Kupp. Behind him is Brandon Powell, J.J. Koski, and Austin Trammell. And behind Allen Robinson, you have Tutu Atwell, Lance McCutcheon, and Warren Jackson. If you can take away anything from this, it's that Warren Jackson's been with the team. He's been on the practice squad for a little bit now. Lance McCutcheon's already surpassed him on this unofficial. Brandon Powell is literally next up, behind Cooper Kupp. That's nice to see. He's surpassed Koski and Austin Trammell. That's interesting. And then you have Jacob Harris, who's ahead of Landon Akers. So not a whole lot, but the fact that Skoranek is there, I mean, that's certainly intriguing. Then you look at the tight ends. You got Tyler Higbee as the number one, Kendall Blanton second string, Bryson Hopkins number three. Not a surprise there. Fourth string, you got a tie between Jared Pinkney, Roger Carter Jr., and Jamal Pettigrew. I don't think that order actually really matters. I think that's just kind of, where they are as far as the fourth string. Left tackle, from left to right, you have Joe Noteboom. Then you have A.J. Arcuri as the second string left tackle, which is very interesting. And then Maximilian Percher, who, of course, is part of the international exchange program. Then you have left guard, David Edwards starting, Tremaine Ankrum Jr. as the second string, and Jeremiah Colon as the third. They only have one guy at center. Brian Allen is at center. Keep in mind, Coleman Shelton would pretty much be the backup there. If anything went down, you'd have to imagine Coleman Shelton would play center there. But Coleman Shelton is your starter at right guard here on the unofficial, followed by Logan Bruss as the second string. Then you have Jack Snyder, the UDFA, who I do like a lot, is third string. Right tackle is Rob Havenstein, no surprise there. Alaric Jackson is the backup right tackle. He would be the backup left tackle, but they're not going to overlap the names. They're not going to have him on right tackle and left tackle, so I guess that's just how they decided to do it. Chandler Brewer interestingly enough, is listed as a tackle, as well as Adrian Ely. So that's interesting. Looking at the offense, I mean, I think some things that stand out to you: Ben Skoranek, number one, or rather the number 3 receiver, but a starting receiver. Coleman Shelton leading the pack at right guard. So, that stands out to you. Aside from that, though, everything looks to be expected, I would imagine. Nothing too strange out there. I mean, Kyron Williams got hurt. Otherwise, he would be number 3. So now, unofficial defense. A'Shawn Robinson's your starter at defensive end, followed by Marquise Copeland and Ernest Brown IV. No surprises there. Marquise Copeland, I feel like, is a lock to make the roster. Ernest Brown IV probably isn't a lock, but I'd like to see him, get a run there. No surprise there. Then at nose tackle, you got Greg Gaines. Again, no surprise. Jonah Williams and Bobby Brown III. So Bobby Brown III is listed on the roster. He's listed on the depth chart. The suspension hasn't affected him yet. They have not put him on the suspended list yet. So I imagine he'll play preseason if that's the case. But yeah, that's how that is. And then defensive tackle, Aaron Donald, Michael Hoyt, and Elijah Garcia. So again, not really anything too crazy there. That's pretty much what you would expect. Nothing too crazy. I like that they list Ernest Brown IV as a defensive end and non-outside linebacker. He's kind of been doing both, so I like if they're really sticking him at defensive line. I like that more. Speaking of outside linebackers, starting Justin Hollins, Chris Garrett, Benton Whitley, and Keir Thomas. So to not have Benton Whitley and Keir Thomas on the same tier, that's interesting. That kind of speaks that maybe Benton Whitley is taking over that third spot there. He's ahead of Keir Thomas, maybe has separated himself a little bit. Chris Garrett as the backup, pretty much no surprise there. Then moving on to the other side of the outside linebackers, you have obviously Leonard Floyd, but wait a minute. Daniel Hardy is number 2. So you have Leonard Floyd, Daniel Hardy, Terrell Lewis, and Braden Thomas. Now, I'm not saying to go crazy because, again, it's an unofficial depth chart. But that's interesting. That's not something I'm looking at and being like, yeah, it's no big deal. That's a little interesting. If that doesn't pique your interest in the slightest, I don't know. Definitely piques mine. Very, very curious to see what that means. Maybe we'll see it in preseason. But Daniel Hardy is listed as the 2nd. Terrell Lewis is listed as the 3rd. Wow. All right. I like that. As a fan of Daniel Hardy, somebody that's been on this channel before, on the Downtown Rams podcast. All right, then. Moving on. Inside linebacker, Ernest Jones. No surprise. Then Jake Gervais, a little bit of a surprise, ahead of Jacob Hummel and Anthony Hines III. I expect Jacob Hummel to have a very good preseason, and I think we'll be talking about him making the roster come the end of preseason. Then the other inside linebacker spot, you have Bobby Wagner and Christian Roseboom. So interesting that they didn't go 3-3. They went 4-2. Okay. We move on to the corners. Troy Hill, followed by Robert Rochelle, followed by Darion Kendrick. And then you have Grant Haley and Duron Lowe as the 4th stringers. And then the right cornerback is Jalen Ramsey, followed by David Long Jr., Kobe Durant, Tyler Hall in the 4th string, Caesar Dancy Williams. So this, normally a lot of teams with their unofficials, they'll throw all of the rookies in that back end to kind of make them earn it, right? Looking at this, it looks like they clearly have separated Darion Kendrick and Jacoby Durant from the other guys. So that's that. Troy Hill obviously is starting, Jalen Ramsey, then you have David Long Jr., Robert Rochelle as your 2s, and then Darion Kendrick and Jacoby Durant as your 3s. I don't think that's going to hold up. I think those guys can push Long and Rochelle. I think Rochelle is going to get a lot of play, though. We'll see, but the corners are interesting. Then safety. This is kind of a weird one here, especially with Jordan Fuller back. Starting free safety, Nick Scott. Terrell Burgess is your backup. Russ Yeast, the 2nd, is your 3rd string. And 4th string is Daniel Isom. Now, keep in mind, Quentin Lake is on the physically unable to perform list, so he is not listed. But then you have strong safety Taylor Rapp listed as the starter, Jordan Fuller listed as the backup, third stringer TJ Carter Jr., and fourth stringer Jaron McVay. So very, very interesting there. Again, I understand it's unofficial. I keep explaining that. But that does kind of pique my interest a little bit. Like, Taylor Rapp is listed as the starter. I would imagine, when push came to shove, Jordan Fuller would be the starter. But it at least gets me to think or at least talk about it, right? It's definitely something to discuss, I guess. Then the specialists, you have Riley Dixon, no surprise there, being the starter at punter. Cameron Dicker is the backup. You have Matt Gay as your kicker. As your holder, you have Riley Dixon. Then long snapper, Matt Orzek. There's nobody else to compete with him. Punt returner, you have Brandon Powell and then Cooper Kupp as your second. Kick returner is a little surprising. You have Brandon Powell and then you have Kyron Williams. So no list of Tutu Atwell, who has been, getting some run as a return man. So, yeah, I mean, that's my reaction on this. Now I'm just going to kind of wrap this up in a big fat bow. I'm going to tell you right now, with the preseason coming down to the wire, it starts on Saturday. I believe it's 10:30. They're playing the Chargers. I don't love the start time at all, but, that's what they're doing. So here's what I have, okay? Matthew Stafford's not playing. I don't think John Wolford plays. So Bryce Perkins and Luis Perez will play in preseason. Then at the running backs, I can't imagine they play Akers or Henderson. Jake Funk probably will start, followed by Kyron Williams, Raymond Calais, Trey Regis, and AJ Rose. Then at wide receiver, obviously, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp will not start. Ben Skoranek being listed as a starter is intriguing because, maybe they don't play him. I think they're going to get him some reps. So they'll play him. They'll play Atwell. Harris is out for the next, 2 to 3 weeks, so he's not going to play. So it'll probably be Atwell, Skoranek, and McCutcheon, followed by Warren Jackson, Landon Akers, J.J. Koski. Brandon Powell's not going to play. As they said, he got banged up a little bit. He'll be okay, but they did not expect him to play in preseason anyway, which kind of speaks volumes to what they believe that they have in him. So, preseason, you probably see a few series of Skoranek and Atwell. McCutcheon will probably play the majority of the game, get him a lot of reps. Landon Akers, J.J. Koski, Trammell, Warren Jackson. Those will be your receivers for preseason. Tight ends, I can't see any of those three playing, to be honest with you. The Rams are so deep at tight end. They have 6. I think, Pinckney, Roger Carter Jr., and Jamal Pettigrew are probably going to get the nods. Maybe they play Bryson Hopkins, but I don't know. I don't really see it, to be honest with you. Offensive line. Noteboom's not going to play. Edwards isn't going to play. Brian Allen's not going to play. I don't know if Coleman Shelton's going to play. Because if he's fighting for a right guard spot, then yeah, I think he'll probably play a little bit. But I don't know, because he's definitely making the roster. He's your backup center at the very least. I don't know. Logan Bruss will play. Jack Snyder will play. Tremaine Ankrum will play. Jeremiah Colon, Max Percher, A.J. Arcuri. Those guys will play. Havenstein will not. Alaric Jackson, I don't want him playing. Then you have Chandler Brewer. He'll play. Adrian Ely. So those are your offensive players that I believe are going to play in preseason. Defense. Ashawn will not. Greg Gaines will not. Aaron Donald will not. Will Michael Hoyt? I don't even think he will. I think they like him. He's going to make the roster. I don't think that they'll play him. They might play Copeland. I think Copeland might start. I think they'll start Hoyt, Williams, and Copeland. And then, Bobby Brown, Garcia, and Ernest Brown will get the opportunities as well. That's what I think they'll probably do. And then outside linebacker, Hollins and Floyd will be nowhere near the preseason field. They're the starters. Terrell Lewis, listed as a third option. If this has any sort of merit, then, there's a very good chance that, Terrell Lewis is probably going to play. If that's the case, right? Because that, I mean, based on this unofficial, then yeah. But Daniel Hardy, Chris Garrett, I think those two are definitely going to play. I think they're going to start. Then you're going to see Whitley, Keir Thomas, Braden Thomas, and maybe Terrell Lewis. We'll see. I wouldn't push Terrell Lewis. You already know he can play. I wouldn't push that knee in the preseason. That's just me. Inside linebackers. Ernest Jones, Bobby Wagner. No, they're not playing. So Jake Gervais, Jacob Hummel, Anthony Hines III, and Christian Roseboom are your potential, all those guys are up for playing time. They'll probably start Gervais and Roseboom since those guys are listed as the second. Hummel will probably be, playing a bunch of time as well. I expect him to make the roster, and then Anthony Hines will get in on there. Corner, no Hill, no Ramsey. I mean, I don't even know if you play Long and Rochelle. I think you get the rookies some playing time, Kendrick and Durant. But they're going to have an impact this year. So, I mean, I don't know how much you want to play them and risk them. So, I think Kendrick and Durant will play. But then you have Haley and Lowe, and you have, Tyler Hall and Caesar Dancy Williams. I think they're just going to go with those guys. So, they'll probably sit their top four. And then free safety, Nick Scott not playing. Strong safety, Taylor Rapp not playing. Jordan Fuller won't play. I don't even think Burgess will play. It'll be Russ Yeast. If Quentin Lake comes back in time, he'll play. TJ Carter will play. Jerion McVay and Daniel Isom. And then as far as punter and kicker, I mean, I have to imagine that Matt Gay won't be in kicking meaningless field goals. So Cameron Dicker, who was Cameron Dicker, the kicker at Texas, he's going to do both punting and kicking. He'll go up against Riley Dixon and he'll kick so Matt Gay doesn't have to. I wouldn't be surprised to see them reach out about getting a long snapper, just like a camp body for the preseason so they don't get like their long snapper hurt. But I don't know about that. And then for punt returner, Cooper Kupp, Braden Powell will not return punts. So that leaves whoever, right? And then kick returner, Kyron Williams maybe, but I wouldn't put him out there in that way. So yeah, that's how I have it. I mean, it's definitely interesting. Again, it is unofficial, but it's their first depth chart that has been released. So I felt like it was newsworthy. I'm sorry if I wasn't more interactive during this live stream. It was literally just meant to get it out there. I'm basically recording it, not editing it. I'm just dropping this thing because I just wanted to get it out there for people. But I hope you guys did enjoy this. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and if you did enjoy this, be sure to hit the thumbs up, be sure to hit subscribe, and leave a comment. What are your thoughts? Did you take anything away from this depth chart? Do you care at all? Let me know. And I will be back live a little bit later on today, so I didn't screw you guys over. I will be live. Don't worry. I will be answering questions. We'll do all that. This was just to get the video out, so I appreciate everyone that stopped by. Sorry it wasn't more interactive, but this will be a video, and then we'll have a live stream later on tonight. So look forward to seeing you then. And yeah, that's going to do it. Take care, folks. Later.